All right. Good evening. This is the Littleton Charter Committee meeting on December 15th. Tonight we're going to talk about the rest of our work plan for 2026. Get us to the finish line on this thing. And we have some continued discussions on the Finance Committee and financial procedures. We've got people from FinCom and Select Board here to discuss that proposal that they have, and public input as always, and minutes. Okay, so with that, I was going to put the work plan after this, but actually some of it might be helpful to have at least Karen here, because I don't think hopefully it's not a really long discussion. So can we look at that first? Yes? Is according to that. So we haven't started?
Yeah, that clock's consistently wrong. The time's shown on the screen.
Okay, so we didn't start then?
5:59.
Okay, so even though we flip a switch, we're not on?
They can hear you, but
You don't see us?
they don't see us.
Okay, all right. Sorry, out there in TV land. Hang in there, we'll be with you in a minute.
Good to know.
That's a little echoey.
Yeah, it does sound echoey.
Doesn't it?
Okay,
So just wait for that to go to the room.
okay. Before we were told that was delayed, so. Common looks nice with the lights up, huh?
I can see you now. I don't know if that means that the TV is also broadcasting the image.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. All right, I guess we're live now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Quickly, I'll go over the agenda again, I guess, just because maybe some people missed it, since apparently we started early. We're going to review our work plan for 2026. We've got the Finance Committee and Select Board members here to talk about financial procedures in the charter document, and our usual public input and approving minutes. So with that, you all have copies of the updated work plan, or you've seen it. You see we have inserted two different sections where we meet with the Select Board. So this is to go through and talk about the charter and review things with them and see what they're comfortable, what they're not comfortable with. It doesn't necessarily mean we change things based on what they tell us, but to understand that and to see if we want to include that in our deliberations and how we finalize things. So, but rather than wait till the end, it's better to do it up front. It gives us time to think about it, mull through things, and talk with other people, whatever we need to do as we go forward here. So that's the intention anyway. Again, that was just a proposal. So, any comments on that here?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Also, we have a placeholder here. We talked about a public input session in January, did we? But but we haven't done anything definite on that, right? Or do we have a date? No, we haven't done anything definite on it, right?
No.
So do we still think January is a good time? Early February?
Maybe February.
Yeah, sometime in February.
Okay.
Sometime in the next 6
Right,
weeks
because we should
before
have,
we're going
by
for
that
the
point, we
select
should
board.
really be pretty much set where we think we're going with the committees and so on, and so that would be a good time to do it. So one of the proposals, or the options that Colin sent was different ways to do the public forum. I was thinking there might be just other things rather than just having a bunch of people show up, but they also suggested, I think I sent it around to this SWAT, so you take a topic, rather than just having a general discussion, take a topic and then have people talk about this is the strength and the weaknesses and so on. And I thought that might work for this, right?
Yeah. Seems like it would be more participatory.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Turn
Have
out.
something specific that you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Keep it focused and so on.
But, well, when I've used that before, I've basically had a big group that was very, very familiar with everything that was being discussed and categorized as a strength or a weakness, et cetera. I question, do we really know that that's the case with regard to public input? I mean,
That
I
would be
think-
part of the forum, would be explaining this is where we are and this is the decisions we've made and why, and then carry on the conversation and see what other people come up with, what they think is a strength or a weakness. I don't know.
Okay.
If I may just add there.
Sure.
The second two, excuse me, I have a bit of a cough. The SWAT as well as the World Cafe style, they do require, and I think this was in the email, a bit more work on the part of the committee. sort of setting up how information that you give to the group. Because I mean, you're absolutely right, particularly for the SWAT. It's mainly used for groups with more expertise in the area. So you'd have to do much more training up front in terms of priming the incoming attendees.
I don't know if anyone
I
went
don't know.
to the Nagog Orchard facilitation. The timing was terrible, but the session itself, I thought was pretty well run, and it elicited a lot of feedback from people. I don't know whether we could do something.
Well, those were
Similar.
professionals running it.
Yeah, that
who
was
Right.
facilitated.
Who prepared
Yeah,
many, many weeks interviewing a dozen people or more in advance. And then that was 2 sessions over several weeks. I just want to throw out, 'cause
Yeah, no, I know
I
it was a
would
lot
agree
of
with you with regard to how
work.
that set of presentations came off. But I also know as
I
to
don't, yeah.
what all was done in
Right.
advance of those sessions that came off pretty well.
I'm not sure that the intent was the same as for this, to me, anyway. To me, we have a document, we have some specific things, and so we're looking at, is there something we missed? I mean, it's kind of like what we're looking for.
yeah, but at the same time, it's, what do you envision for the town? It's that civic engagement piece that,
Maybe,
like if everyone says, oh, we did it because there's, we've had the discussions
Right.
ourselves, oh, the elections aren't competitive, well, why not? And,
Right.
what do you need, and what would you like to see? And-
but also, look at where we're, again, so we're talking February,
No, I get it.
so
I get it.
it's not blue sky anymore. It's not completely open, so,
Well, okay, but if we're assessing the public feedback, I mean, other presentations, I'll go to like the Open Space and Rec Committee. Their planned discussions had breakout sessions where you could ask the audience members which area, self-select where you want to go, and then you report back after a 20-minute, half-hour period of time as to what was the substantive discussion within that group, so you got feedback, and you had that 20, 25 minutes of the people that participated in the event to offer their comments with regard to what they understood, what they were interested in, et cetera.
if someone else has the energy to put that together, I can tell you, personally, when I go to those meetings, I hate them. So I'm not the one to run that. If somebody else has the energy to put all this stuff, to work together and wants to do that, and has an idea in the end how we think we're gonna use this input, then I'm open to it, but
I don't think I'm throwing that out there, I'm just trying to say the SWAT doesn't strike me as being something that the public's prepared for. And the questions that we got in the first public presentation had more or less really challenges to us with regard to, I heard challenges with regard to open versus representative, I heard challenges with regard to town meeting, and people feeling they were on the outside. That, I think, is what we heard, and so that's the only basis that I'm trying to bring in as we consider. I don't think we're in this is what we have and it's time to get serious. I'm still questioning whether the public's even aware in a meaningful way that some of the changes that we're contemplating here.
And then should we report back on what we did with the feedback that we got the first time? This is what we looked
To
at. This
bring
is
them
what-
along.
different
Well, I'm just
crowd,
saying,
might be a different crowd.
Because after a while, people stop sharing if they don't think anything is being done with it.
What do you suggest? I mean, this is where we come down to, right? We need to do public input, we need to get something in, but I just want to be realistic about what we're getting. This is the work that we've done, we're looking for feedback, basically,
That's,
right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
really what it is. This is the work, and what's the feedback on this work that we've done? Okay, so, first thing is to probably get a date, because we know we need to do something else. So, of course, I keep looking at you, but
That's okay.
are the people?
You can look at me.
Because you did so much of the work last time, in terms of coming up with a date and starting to get some of the logistics in place. And then everybody needs to be thinking seriously about how, what would this really be? Because to me, it's just, we're gonna be far along in this, and I do want to, like I've always said I don't want to get the end, say, oh, if we had known that. So that's what I'm trying to get to. It's not, it's like, this is the work, so did we miss something? And if so, let us know.
Yeah, it's tough though, because until it becomes, you
Well,
know,
and it's
all
not,
kind
and
of
we know that, and
abstract.
some of this
Right.
is because because we need to do it. You need to get some people engaged, but you're only gonna get a limited, and then, but the reality is, the public is a very small percentage of the people out there.
So
So you try.
I'm spitballing, but
Okay.
in response to what you're putting out. I think that we've had considerable input from the different boards and committees. We've had the fire chief, the police chief, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've gone in the direction that they all think we should be going in.
Yeah?
And therefore, I wonder, should we attempt to convene a multiple-member set of joint sessions and really to hash out, here's where we're at. Pretty much everybody, with very little, as you said at the last meeting, almost nobody wants to change anything.
Right.
And yet, we're contemplating some changes. I'm actually for more changes than we're contemplating, but we haven't really held votes with regard to, yes, we're all in agreement, or no, we're not, where are we at, et cetera. I wonder if we don't need to mix it up with those same groups that, that have come before us. We've heard from the Cemetery Commission, just for example, 3 separate meetings.
Yep.
Is that where we're going? I don't think it is. And so therefore, maybe after we've deliberated on stuff, we should be sharing, here's where and first I would like to make sure that we're all there. Like, some people are rather silent, so do we have a unanimous agreement with how we're moving forward, or do we have a mixed agreement? And should we be presenting it back to some of those?
Well, I think Charlotte said that pretty clearly in the minutes. That one was pretty clear that it was not, everybody was not in agreement. But,
So
okay,
I'm not gonna disagree with Charlotte's minutes.
Okay.
I agree. But I'm trying to say, maybe in order to express to the community and get feedback with regard to some of the folks we're at. I mean, granted, and you've said this really well several times, including the public session. We're preparing a recommendation that's going to select board, and then should it survive the select board, it's going to town meeting, et cetera.
right,
So there's no, this is what we're doing, and I just wonder whether, I'm just spitballing
Yeah,
again, and
I
just
know.
throwing out, maybe we should throw that back in order to hear a collective, or maybe it's enough to just be with the select board who's gonna receive whatever recommendations we're coming now for, I don't know, March.
yep,
One thing that I want to recognize, and I'm grateful that you've put in the time and Mel and Anthony have put in the time, it's just 3 weeks or so ago that it seemed like we were still contemplating that we're gonna be done and wrapped up with our final report in time for some, I think I even heard at one point, a May deliberation at town meeting, which I was viewing personally as not a chance in the world are we on pace for that. And so I'm throwing that out with regard to, I think this at least recognizes we're nowhere near a May town meeting. We're now in the next one, and I find myself questioning whether we are in the next one. If we can get there, great. But when we all signed up for this last March, it was an 18 to 24 month. And, I still think we're moving along that time frame as opposed to what had been a 12-month. And
I
it's
think
now-
we're gonna get to the fall town meeting,
And
and that makes sense. And if we don't, going to a spring town meeting with a plan like this, it won't work.
I agree.
There's too much, this takes almost a full town meeting to deal with.
and there's more to it than that even, because in talking to Anthony about the process, so once, town meeting is one step, right? And then it goes to go to the legislature, and they have to do their thing. Well, the reality is, based on what they do, he says that really happens like in January and February. So if you don't do fall town meeting, you're probably waiting another year.
Yeah.
And then it has to come back and go to ballot. So we really need to say to ourselves, we're gonna make this deadline. I mean, at some point, you have to put a deadline in. I mean, we've been in work, you do the deadline and you get the work
I
done.
think we
They
all
have to do it.
understand that's
Yeah,
the deadline.
right,
The fall town meeting next
yeah,
year.
and so we have to do,
Anything other than that, with all the other things. that
I don't
have
have,
to go on,
I don't have the energy
put
to keep
another
going
year
that long.
onto
Yeah,
it,
no,
so.
it's just, it's too much, and just don't see it being that productive, honestly. My opinion.
So I'll agree with that, but let's just play that out. with regard to fall town meeting of next year. So then you back up, the documents have to be sent to the printer, which, what is that, 6 to 8 weeks before? And that's assuming the select board's already done with whatever they wanna do with whatever we give them and when we give it to
Yeah.
them.
Well,
So,
That's,
are we
it's
into?
it's on the plan now. These are the dates we have right now. This is what we're working towards.
I think that printer time frame is probably a little long. And once we give it to the select board, if they drag their feet, that's beyond what I can do or anything else can do, so.
Okay,
All right, so
I was
let's-
just trying to
Yeah,
push
I
forward
understand.
with regard to pushback with giving them time to do whatever they're going to do, and I have no clue as to whether they're in lockstep with regard to what we're doing. I suspect they're not,
They who? The select board?
select board.
Oh, I'm sure they're not.
So therefore, they're gonna need time, so I'm
Okay,
trying,
we're gonna have some conversations in here already. We've got some things here. Things can be working in parallel. It doesn't all have to be boom, boom, boom. They're gonna know, I mean, again, we know where we are now on this, and so it's just, it's evolution. They can be doing the work same time we are. We got two meetings in here to talk to them. I just feel like, sometimes I feel like you're just trying to say it's not gonna work, but I
I'm
don't,
trying to show you the perspectives that I think need to be considered in order to enable
Yep.
it to work.
Okay.
If it's not coming off that way, I apologize for
Okay.
that, but that's exactly what I am doing tonight, and I feel like I have been doing with some consistency.
okay. Well, we're trying. We put some things in, we have 2 meetings right now in the select board, and then afterwards, again, they have the chance to do, there's legal review and other changes there, so hopefully there's things in here. If there's not, there's not, but it's in the plan now. I don't know what else I can do other than that.
Well, the one point I want to make is, I don't know whether I disagree with you, Rob, on one point is, I think that this group of people have spent a lot of time debating on different issues, and I think we've made a lot of progress, maybe not where we thought we were going to be, maybe not some of the things we thought we were going to go with, but I think we've come a long way, and we're still in that process of going.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of meeting, what the public input part will be. I've read some of it before the meeting, and I don't really disagree with it. I'd be comfortable going to the same type of thing that we did before. Explain what we have, get feedback, bring it back, and go over it again. And some of the things we talked about, and we had a few people come out and be vocal about certain things, I think we brought it back. Maybe we didn't agree with what their points were, or maybe we thought there was a minority of people doing it, but I think as a group, I think we're making some progress here. Maybe not as fast as we want, but.
I don't disagree. There are other elements in here that I guess now, because we're in the work plan, should be brought up. The legislative branch, for example. There's some things that we've introduced, like the reference to town meeting time. And our language currently has shall, that if the moderator, Tim, you preside over the meeting and you rule on decisions. In the absence of bylaws, town meeting time shall. I've learned recently that, I'll use the phrase Trojan horse, that town meeting time has some real problematic motions within it. Now, if you were to.
Wait a minute, I want
I
to
don't
stop,
know
I
what
want
you-
to stop this.
don't know
I
what
don't
you're
want to have this
talking about.
conversation right now. So if we want to do this, if there's specific things you want to go back over, then write it down and give it to everybody so we can talk about it, Rob. I mean, that would be great. I'm not going to go into town meeting right now because we got to go with someplace else.
I have no problem.
Okay.
I'm trying to introduce this subject
Right.
that I think there are some things that we currently have in language that we are, I suspect, thinking we're all good with,
Okay,
that I'm not certain, I know I'm not.
okay, then we just need to document it so we can have the discussion. That's great.
At a future meeting,
Yes.
and I'm trying to identify,
Yep.
we're gonna need to, go back to consider some things.
Okay, all right.
We can probably add that to the tracker, maybe.
Well, yeah, because we know we're going to have to go, I mean, every time we go through the document, we find things and we go back and things that we thought we were done, but it's part of the process. We said in the beginning that as we go through, we're going to know more than we were in the beginning, so we're going to have to go back to the beginning again, and that's,
Okay,
to me, this is just part of the process.
We've decided that we're gonna look at February as a
Public input.
public meeting.
Yes,
So let's look at the next item. You got revisit town administrator.
yep, that's,
Oh, everything, okay.
yep.
And administrative organization, what's that?
This is, Anthony has to talk about these. Explain
Okay.
again what the administrative organization is and the resident participation ones are again.
So the administrative organization, That is the process by which the town reorganizes its departments. It generally, the structure is the town administrator has a plan to, for example, create departments, move departments underneath departments, perhaps abolish departments that don't meet the current structure. That plan goes to either the select board or the town meeting or both for approval, and there could be steps in there. And then once it's approved, then the structure of the town, how the departments are arranged, is reorganized. So that's the administrative
It's in the
organization.
charter? That stuff's in the
Correct.
charter?
Correct.
If I could just ask for clarification, when I saw this on the proposal, I thought it was gonna be like Maynard's section 5.7, which are several pages that delineate how the reporting structure exists to the town manager within their charter. And that goes to some of our conversations many months ago with regard to checks and balances, with regard to the town manager. And some of what I would argue has been a rather consistent set of statements, said in different tones, but a consistent from the boards and committees that's basically saying, protect us from a rogue town manager. And that's where I think, or that's where I thought this would be, not aspect that is another subset of what is the town manager's responsibility in our proposed charter and numerous other charters, that goes to the town manager having the ability to reorganize departments in a way that she thinks should be done, and then taking it to select board to get solidified through their approval of it.
Right.
So I'd like to, which is it? Because I thought we'd be getting into what I see as the equivalent of Maynard's section 5.7, several pages that go into pretty extensive checks and balances that, again, we haven't even started that discussion yet.
Well, no, because it's not till
But
February,
that's,
right?
Yeah, so if you look at the Maynard, the first part of Maynard 5.1 is about, if you look at all of the comparable charters, they all have in here a section around how we restructure the departments of the town. And there can be other things in there, but the meat of this section is around the structure of the town. Now, other parts, and I'm pulling up the Maynard one, other parts of Maynard, you can include things or not include things. I don't know if I necessarily say that all of it's stuff that we'd recommend, but that's up to you. But yeah, the meat of, if we're talking about this section generally, it's about the structure of the government. It's about the town agencies.
Okay.
okay, move right along.
Meet with select board, resident participation. Talk about that, Anthony, please.
I have a
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, Kyle.
Resident-
No, sorry, Kyle.
Prior to the meet with select board in March, is our target goal to have somewhat of a final draft of the charter?
Well, no, just up to this point, because these are additional sections. This resident participation, these are all more sections in the, but what we will have had, go ahead.
Could we agree that all the sections we've covered prior to that meeting with select board, that we could all collectively agree that it's a final draft? Like talking about, like what Rob was talking about,
Right.
revisiting sections that we've gone through
Right.
now that we know more about. I would just think, if we're going to get the select board's time,
Yep.
we should have something pretty solid.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's not final because after we talk to them, we may change our minds some more.
Sure.
But in terms of us, that should be this is where we're saying this is what we want to do.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Are you ready? So resident,
Yeah, resident participation.
so usually those are provisions in your town. It would be for communities with open town meetings. Well, let me start from the highest level. For other communities, particularly if you think about city council and things of that nature, those are usually ways in which the community can, for lack of a better term, overturn maybe an action of the council or put something before the council. In a community like yours with an open town meeting, it usually is limited to things like a recall of elected officials.
All right. So that's should not be that long of a discussion, I wouldn't think, but okay. All right.
And your community did pass a special act around recall a few years ago, so we would be starting with that language.
Okay. Town elections?
the town elections, that's actually a fairly short section. It really generally goes to setting the dates, things of that nature. There can also be provisions in there about whether or not you allow a preliminary, if there are, I think it's 2+1 candidates for any particular seat. Many communities just flat out don't allow preliminary elections, but those I'm hitting the high points of these sections. And then the next one is, let me pull up the work plan. General provisions, for lack of a better term, that's the a number of things can go in there. I would say the one that I find committees and communities spend the most time on are things like for your appointed committees that individuals can't miss a certain number of meetings unless and then they can be either automatically or through some process removed from an appointed committee. I generally say the general provisions are where the sort of plumbing of the charter goes, but that's where sort of
Okay.
some of your other things go in there. And then your transition provisions,
We know what that is.
that's more legalistic. That is the things in state law and special acts that the charter is replacing. If you've moved, for example, several elected committees to appointed, so that would spell out the process by which those elected
Right.
bodies transition to their appointed roles.
Okay.
What happens to the incumbents, things like that.
Okay, so who knows what we'll find, but it seems like it will be a little less intense. Some of the things that's supposed to happen, all these committees coming in and all these other things, it's more, should be, but you never know till we get there.
Never know.
You never know till you get there. All right. So that was there. I'm sorry, I think that was gonna take that long, but always good discussion, so that's there. Now let's move on to another fun topic. So last time we talked about FinCom, and we started talking about financial procedures. We had Steve and Fred here. So I guess the first thing was, we ended up having a long discussion about the makeup of this finance committee, right? And being appointed by those different groups, and do we want to keep it that way or not? I personally think it's kind of worked well for Littleton, and I like it that way.
Second that.
But well, we wanted to give people some time to think about it, because it was kind of, people weren't expecting that conversation last time. Anybody have any?
I have no problems with the way it is right now. You took just the makeup of the,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
you okay with that?
I'm not. I disagree with it. We've got one vacancy existing. We've routinely had one vacancy existing for almost the last year, coming from two different sources, light and water right now, and previously the school committee. I'm grateful for finance committee. I'm not sucking up to the two that are here right now or the two that have previously served. But I think we're in an extraordinary moment with regard to our current finance committee. To have somebody that's been there for more than 30 years, and to have a former treasurer serve on the finance committee, we need to be careful that we're not thinking about personalities, we're thinking about these groups. I routinely ask, who's the CFO in Littleton?
Okay, but can I, not to interrupt, but right now, we're just talking about the makeup of the finance committee, how they get appointed,
Okay?
okay? So,
And specific, so I think it's very important. So with what I just said as background, Kyle, I thought, made a very pertinent point. Last time, we spent a lot of time and we had two different concepts. One, we need to keep it exactly as is, and yet we also heard the pushback with regard to, but the first thing that their incoming members are told is allegiance to town committee, allegiance to town, and separate yourself from the appointing group that you just came in from. And they're diametrically, as I believe you stated. They're inconsistent with each
Opposing
other.
ideas.
Correct.
It doesn't make sense
So
to
which is
me.
it?
Like, I agree with the commentary from the Collins Center that you have members appointed by boards that have a direct, interest in the outcome of what FinCom is doing. Even if they're told, when you go in the room, forget all your allegiances and just be allegiant to the town. That's fine. If that's the case, then why do these boards even need to appoint these folks to FinCom?
I like the diversity. I don't think that is an issue. It's a valid point, but I don't see it as an issue. I like the diversity. Opposite that is the moderator is one model, where the moderator appoints everybody. So everybody he's the big daddy, you know? You got one guy's opinion on who should be on the finance committee, instead of having a diverse opinion. And the same thing goes if it's a selectman. I mean, you might as well disband the finance committee if the selectmen are appointing them all. There's no check, no balance there at all. So I think having diversity makes a big deal, makes a big difference.
I agree with that. I agree with having diversity, and I'm not sure that having the moderator pick everyone is the right idea either,
I
because
don't think so either, but it's one of the models.
I don't know if I agree with that model either. It just seems like having committees that have a direct interest in how the budget goes, being able to appoint people to that committee.
Yeah,
seems
but
like a
they're one of
conflict
seven.
interest.
One guy of seven.
Well, no, it's 2-2 currently.
Well, yeah, with the school department and the selectmen, you're right.
And noted was how if we're, changing the assessors from elected to appointed, so there's this mix. Personally, I believe that where are the groups that are nominating or appointing people, do they have a framework in which they're routinely considering people in constituencies? I'm not certain that Light and Water is routinely considering people to participate in town meeting, given the Light Department doesn't even have to come before the town meeting for consideration. That just strikes me as a real oddity with regard to that whole participation in putting on one of the folks.
Do we have another proposal on how we should do this if it's
Yeah,
like
I
that?
think 3-3-1.
Which is what? I don't know what that
3
means.
select board, 3 school committee, and 1 moderator.
I have a thought, an
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
What if groups nominate them to the select board and the select board appoints? That picks up the diversity that you're interested in, but it streamlines it, it has a consistent process. It goes to the select board.
You think they're not gonna appoint somebody that the group nominates?
I don't know.
I guess I don't see what that adds to the process. I'm sorry.
It takes out the direct pipeline.
Because it has to go to the
The
select board
finance
first.
Right.
But they're still being nominated by whatever. Maybe. I don't know. To me,
It's
yeah.
more of a public process, there's more
It's more
visibility
public,
to
I would
it.
say that, but, yeah. Because when Karen's comments was reviewing this, even the town moderator, that's the one where it's really not, there's no public process to that at all.
Exactly.
At least the board, the other committees, it's done in an open meeting thing, but the moderator one is not. It could be, but it's not right now,
Right, and that's the one that most communities use, ironically,
right?
right?
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there some discussion of like a committee consisting of the chair of the select board, chair of FinCom, and
Yeah.
the moderator, kind of vetting all of the candidates?
Yep,
So that there's no sort of undue influence on,
I kinda like that one. I mean, I like that one.
That's a
Those
model.
3
I
come
can-
together to propose
together,
on
right.
you have like the same rotation that you have, 2 people maximum coming in, coming off, assuming no vacancies exist on an ongoing basis. Yeah, I think that's got merit.
I like that. Then you've got somebody looking at them and say, are they really, is there some qualification, or is it just because somebody really wants to?
Yeah, so they nominate them, it
Voice.
goes to the select board, and then they,
Well, I don't, well, I think that I think, no, because I think that the model is that it's the FinCom, Select Board, and the moderator that is the committee. So they don't need to go to the
Right,
Select
they're
Board
the
after that,
nominating
because
committee.
they're being,
oh,
the nominations would go to them, and they would decide yes or no. They're the ones that say yes or no, they're on FinCom.
That's how I understood it as
Right.
well.
so they're a nominating committee for the finance committee.
Yeah,
A
basically.
per-
They're an
a permanent-
appointment.
They're an
They're
appointment,
They're an
appointment, that's a good
appointment.
point.
They're an
Appointment committee.
Group.
Okay, so a permanent committee to
Right.
fill vacancies
Right. So at that point, I mean, the school committee and the light and water and everybody else, if they know somebody and they want, they can still promote them. And then it's
Right.
just, but then you have somebody else to say,
Yep.
yep, that makes sense, that'll work.
They've got the
I would
background.
incorporate Karen's
Right.
idea
Yeah.
of a group of people can bring forward a name that could, puts before the group that
Yeah.
then works through it and determines yay or nay.
Yeah.
Decision, because it's a three-person group, decision's made.
But then by that perspective, I think I'd asked the last time, are there other groups? that are-
Anybody could nominate somebody to this committee. That would be the thing. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
Yeah, anybody could
And
do
which
it.
is why I was.
And
I
you wouldn't
had
even
it-
have to be nominated by somebody. Somebody could raise their hand and say, I'd like to
Yes,
apply.
Which is why.
Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do that, Steve. That was not me. Okay, you had a
Which is
question?
why in my mind I had the select board.
You're on camera.
But in my mind, it's no different than any other committee that goes through the select board.
Yeah,
You know, so why
okay.
do we have a special one for FinCom when everything else, you either apply or someone pokes you and you know.
Well, it just makes it
They have
a little more open, I guess, in terms of representation. Again, if you want to say it's just not FinCom, just getting all their buddies, and so you kept this procreating thing, if we're gonna keep our same crowd, you've got at least some other avenues of getting in there.
The concept that I thought,
And go ahead, and Steve's gonna.
that I thought was responsive, though, is given where I think Littleton is with regard to our appreciation for the finance committee, the participation by that chair,
Mhm.
and also, I think in the versions that I read, should the chair be, continuing, then it would be the second within the finance committee would participate in this appointing group, et cetera, if by chance the chair's appointment was coming up for either expiration or renewal, et cetera. So I think that continues the aspect of Littleton's, I think, respect for the finance committee and the ongoing involvement and what we heard from Steve and Fred the last time with regard to the allegiance to the town, et cetera. I think there's something of significance with regard to maintaining that perspective. I think it serves us well. So that was an appealing aspect that I found.
Steve, do you have something you want to say?
I guess one of the things that was discussed the last time, out of the current boards that do select somebody, we were gonna switch the light department to the water department simply because they have a budget, so
Mm-hmm.
it takes care of one thing that Rob was talking
Yep.
about. I personally, and I'm not speaking for the other two people that are here, this is myself, I think the process right now works well, and I'll go back to Alan's point with the diversity.
Mhm.
I mean, if you leave it to the chair of the FinCom, select board, and moderator, you're not getting the diversity. You're getting all my people, all Karen's people, all Tim's people. That's all you're doing. You're not getting a bigger cross-section of the town, which you could be with all the boards appointing. And I think that's what makes the FinCom work, is we do have different opinions and different skill levels. Not everybody on the FinCom over the years has been a financial whiz.
They don't need to be, right?
It's not it.
Yep.
But you have the person who's not like that, give us the opinion, and it means just as much as anybody else on that board. And over time, they start learning things. I mean, you
Yeah,
guys know, it
absolutely,
takes
yeah.
a couple of years to get up to speed
Yep.
about municipal finance. It's not an easy concept, but you still have opinions on how the town should be run. And I think, just go back to what Alan said, it's the diversity of the pool of people.
Yep.
We haven't had problems in attracting people, except for the past 2 years. But that's something that we've seen across town in a lot of boards that we've had. The last appointee to the school committee, I mean, Fred and I had to find somebody and introduce them to the school committee, saying this person's interested, type of thing.
Right.
So it's basically getting some commitment from the boards that are gonna go out there and say, yes, I know that we need to find somebody, and commit to finding somebody. I mean, the light department hasn't had to go out and find anybody for years. I mean, Fred was there for, 40 years with them, And they found Jerry, who was very good, and she was there for 6 or 7 years.
Mhm.
So they're just not used to going out and finding
Oh,
somebody right now.
It's- Right.
So, I'm an advocate of leaving the process the way it is. I think that diversity is the biggest asset to the FinCom. That's my opinion. They may
Yeah,
have different.
go ahead, Fred.
You know, I think this is a bit of an aside, and if you don't want to go there, shut me up. But thinking of the last couple of years and the major project that was brought forth to the town, Shaker Lane,
Mm-hmm.
$100 million. Everybody was pounding their chest on getting such a great turnout for the meeting
Mm-hmm.
and the vote. We got 19% of the voting population to come up on the hottest topic for years and years and years in this town. A regular election, we get 7 to 11% of the voting population. Town meeting, we get 3% of the population, of the voting of the registered voters to a town meeting. So in effect, you've got a representative town meeting, because you're not gonna have more than 200 representatives at a town meeting. And I'm not sure this is the group to address it, but how does this town get, I don't want to be derogatory, but how does this town get beyond voter apathy? And I don't know the answer, but my sense is that it's getting worse as we grow. We met with a young fellow last week who's only been in town for 6 or 8 months. He's all excited about getting involved. Where the heck did he come from? Because most of the people that move into town aren't of that ilk. So, and again, I mean, this is an aside for your
Yep.
group, but I really think that this is the #1 major issue in this town, is getting people involved. And I just, you know, and I apologize for taking
That's
the
okay.
time
It's probably
for
not just this
meeting,
town. It's probably
but
just
I
a general
really-
thing. Things have
I really
changed.
think that's
The world's changing.
a
Yep.
major issue.
Okay. So,
I'm not happy, no.
should we, on that happy note, so how do you want to take a vote on keep it the way it is, or go to our Plan B, which is,
Let's at least get the sense of what the board thinks. You've got 3 models here, we're looking at,
well, really two,
well,
right?
well, okay, 2. Leave it the way it is,
Right.
and having the moderator and the chairs of the FinCom and the Select Board make the appointments.
Yep.
So,
Karen?
Sorry, it's the chairs, not
Well,
somebody appointed by the board?
To me, it doesn't have to be the chair. It could be,
At
could be
least that was.
somebody from the Select Board and somebody from FinCom.
Well-
It wouldn't have to be the chair.
chair or their designee.
Okay, so talk to that a little bit. Why is that important designation?
Traditionally, the select board is on a rotation,
Yeah,
and so frankly, whoever's appointing, folks is pretty random, right? Other than that they've been, they're one person who's been elected, but they have
Mhm.
not been nominated as the best person to make that decision by their peers.
Okay. all right,
So,
that's fair.
let me
I
just
like
throw
that.
out, the way I read it and viewed it from the other charters was that it was that specific chair, and because I think the select board does rotate on an annual basis, and because there will be no more in FinCom appointed at any point, I think that rotation, from my way of thinking, that kind of addresses the concern that you have of at that moment in time, the chair of the select board is not best appointed. That is my way of saying, I think to follow what you're saying, if there were 3 people that, on the 5-person select board, that were consistently able to manage their selection of a chair to be in that position, then that would be a different outcome for me. I think the fact that it is a rotational basis, and because the select board are all elected people, I'm less concerned about the fact that who is that person in the appointment authority. And the other part that I'll say is, I suspect, but it's not in an authority position within the charter, but I suspect that any good representative on this 3-person group would consider the input that they get from their respective organization, the chair pertaining to a select board, the finance committee chair pertaining to the finance committee. But that's just my thought, and just trying to give flesh to what I was reading in the other charters.
Okay. Is it that important for people whether it's the chair or not of these committees? Because to me, I just wanted representation from those 3. I don't really, it doesn't matter to me if they're chair or not, but if that's important to people, then you should speak up about that. I guess we need to have that, if that makes a difference on whether we go to Model A or Model B here. I don't know if it does.
I like the chair.
You like the chair?
I like the chair. I can make a decision.
I know. Okay, well, why don't we start with, maybe you want to take a vote on who would like to go to this new model where we have this committee that does it as opposed to coming from the different groups? Is really committed to doing that. You like that one better?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, of course.
As a resident of Littleton,
Uh-huh.
the model today, how would a resident who is interested in the finance committee know to go solicit these boards to be nominated?
So the
The
positions
same
are-
way you do now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the positions are posted,
Okay.
yeah.
But, so let me, because I threw out to somebody recently that in addition to the vacancies that exist on the different multiple member groups, that perhaps what should be done is, in anticipation of expiring terms, we should be announcing that at every select board meeting as well, so that the public, to be responsive to Kyle, can know in advance, months in advance, that, okay, there's gonna be an opportunity in May because these 2 seats are expiring from this appointed, group. But, because I don't think there really is that right now. In fact, I'm of the opinion that incumbents with regard to the multiple member groups more or less feel that they have an automatic reappointment status because there isn't anybody in the community that's fleshing out concepts of, maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring with regard to be consideration for appointment, separate from the person that's otherwise gonna be appointed for their, like,
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
okay.
I don't
Go ahead.
disagree with you, but one point to that, Rob, is I don't think they feel like they have an automatic into the committee if they're up for appointment. I got fired by the school committee.
I get
Frank got fired by the
Light and Water.
Light and Water
Mm-hmm.
Committee. So, I mean, it happens.
So it happens.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's my sense, and again, I've only been here for 5 years, almost 5 years, but that's my sense is how this goes about happening. And we did have somebody come in with some spirited discussion about term limits and that sort of thing. We haven't taken it up, but
How vacancies are communicated to the public is not something that we're dealing with. That's way in the weeds. So, that's back to the conversation. You got 2 models that we're looking at.
Right.
Let's just do a straw poll, starting with Kyle.
Yeah, after hearing everything, I'm okay with keeping it the way it is.
Ditto, except that we've got to, if you leave it the way it is, we should talk about whether the Board of Assessors moves to appointed, I think. Someone brought that up, that if you keep it the way it is, you might want to keep the Board of Assessors elected so that they're elected, yeah.
I wouldn't, okay. I wouldn't keep the Board of Assessors elected for the purposes of nominating for somebody to FinCom, though. would say the other one, you know, if you really want to address that one. But let's, okay, so that, aside from the Board of Assessors, that's still, we can talk about that in a minute. Joe?
I'd go with, leave it the same, the way it is now, but like was mentioned, drop the light department down, and have the water department make that choice, because they have a budget that.
Yeah, and they addressed that in the latest.
We already
Yeah,
changed that.
They changed it.
It was brought up,
Okay.
that's all I meant.
But we actually, I think it's actually been changing the wording now, yeah. Keep it the same? I can go
Same.
either way, but-
Yeah, I would stay with the same model. Yeah, as Kevin pointed out, we do have to do something with the assessors. If we're changing them to an appointed board, then they probably don't, you know, belong on this list, but
We make one. Would it make sense to call one of the positions as at-large? Just to leave it open, to make somebody feel more like they can just raise their hand and not have to be affiliated with somebody?
But where would it get appointed from?
Well, I mean, where do any of them get appointed from? If somebody says, go, we got an opening, go talk to them, you know?
But that's, I'm just trying to,
Right?
to ask
I
the
know.
question, but why don't we continue this
Okay,
and then
yeah.
come back into that?
I'm for the committee.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd like to see like a nominating committee for all the open positions to kind of keep a pipeline active, but I'm not gonna die on the hill, so that's just my thought.
Okay, right.
I too am change.
What's that?
I too am for change.
Okay. But we're,
So
right,
it
Yeah.
moves forward. So now let's get back into the assessor.
assessors, what are we gonna do with that? I mean, we had the discussion last time too, even though they're now appointed, you could still leave them to do it, but if we decide not,
Yeah, what does it matter whether they're appointed or elected?
well, it's just a matter if the select board appoints them and then they're, so now the select board now is getting an extra. That's the concept. I'm not sure if it actually plays out that way, but that,
Yeah, well,
in paper, that is how it looks.
I know what you mean. But I'm a little concerned that something was said earlier in the meeting today, that we're getting overly concerned about this boogeyman out there. It's gonna be the town manager. It's gonna screw everybody and do everything wrong. And then that's just another example. We don't do something we should do because we're afraid that maybe somebody somewhere sometime might not do something right.
Can we just bring that part of it up later on? Just for- We have people here from the finance committee. I thought we wanted to move on to other parts of what's going on.
Okay, so we're gonna agree, we're gonna keep it as is, but we still have to talk about the assessors.
Finance committee.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Let's do that. Some notes here.
Sorry, I
Yep.
made a suggestion about the, how the moderator's appointment is done.
Yes. So, and that was a good point, an interesting thought, I never would have thought of that. So Karen brought up the point about that, you know, your appointment is, not the moderator's appointment
Yeah,
is not open like the other ones are, and so how would we do that? How would you suggest we do that?
yeah, I saw that, no, the moderator is an elected official, not a board, technically. You know, I can't call an open meeting consisting of the moderator and candidates for the select board. I mean, I informally meet with candidates for the finance committee, and, you know, I make my choice, and I send a letter to the town clerk, and that's really the only process there is. I don't know how to make it more open than that, because technically, it's not an open meeting. It's a
Well,
private.
it could be on the agenda of an open meeting.
Of what board? I mean,
FinCom, probably, right?
yeah, I mean,
Could do that?
and what, and
Go to FinCom and say
announce the appointment?
Well, let me,
And if you had a nominating.
If you had 3 people going, that would be a beautiful thing, but, yeah.
What's that?
so let me just throw out that the town meeting, from what I've read, has the ability to appoint standing committees and ongoing committees routinely. I don't think that's the practice here in Littleton, but you actually have that. To Karen's question with regard to, it should be done in an open meeting, well,
Preserve me.
that's actually got the ability for town meeting to do all kinds of things with regard to appointments and creating nothing and all of a sudden starting numerous committees. You've got that authority.
Nothing,
I-
mostly,
Yeah.
they're ad hoc committees that get created at a town meeting for a certain purpose. And the actual appointments don't take place there. Town meeting votes to ask the select board to appoint a committee to consider, some public good. I'm not aware of any standing committees that can be appointed by a,
I'm saying you can do it. You've got the ability to do it within the town meeting parliamentary procedures.
Okay, but that's getting away, I think, from what we're trying to do, because if the other thing, no, that's what I'm saying, Rob, is if you think about some of these discussions we've had, is this person elected or they appointed? We say they're appointed because most people don't even know, what the role is, and it's more of a, it's not, yeah, I mean, that's one of the criteria, right? Like we said for like the trust commission. Most people don't even know what that is, so why would that be an elected position? It really, appointed makes more sense. And I would think a person on FinCom is kind of the same. I mean, that's not,
I thought the question that was being discussed was the observation that there's no open meeting with regard to the moderator's
yeah?
appointment of that, and I was trying to be responsive with where there's the opportunity for that open meeting.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that I don't like that idea. I was trying to answer the question with regard to where is that opportunity?
Town
The
meeting's not an
opportunity is
open
at
meeting
town
either.
meeting.
I don't think it matters.
I just think, I don't view that as town meeting
Sure.
stuff, so,
I think
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
that's the committee,
if I
the
may.
way it is, so.
Okay,
leave it
Anthony?
where it
Yep.
is.
If I may, just on the, how the moderator appoints, assigning the appointment authority, who appoints the members of the finance committee, that really makes sense for the charter. If you want to talk about how that appointment is done, that may be a little bit more in the weeds and could be best done by bylaw, especially considering that it might be something new. So that could be something that goes to your recommendation, say, there's a concern, I guess, around the public's awareness of this appointment, and for the select board maybe to consider a bylaw that creates a process around that. And
Okay.
so I'll just leave it there.
Okay, all right, we're good with that. All right, thank you. But it was
Yeah.
a good point to
Yeah,
bring
that's
up,
what I
thank
was
you.
gonna say.
Okay, now, so we've kind of gotten past that part of it today. Let's talk about the procedures, and Steve, do you want to talk about kind of the proposal that you've put together here?
Sure. After the last meeting, it kind of struck me that why would procedures on a budget process go into a charter? It didn't make sense to me, because if you want to change that, then you have to go back to town meeting to change your process. It seems like that should be somewhere else. And I think the piece to me that's most important in the budget for the town to be in the charter is to require future boards to maintain our financial management policy. And contained in that policy would be the procedures in, for the two committees, the select board and FinCom, to do the budget. As I said the last time I was here, this process, I feel, works well that we have in place right now, but it works well for the two boards that we have. The financial management policy, by the procedures that are already in place today, requires a committee made up of select board, FinCom, school committee, town administrator, and finance director to agree on changes to that policy. So there's two members, one school committee, finance director, town administrator, get together, talk over the policy changes. So if the procedures are in that policy, then both boards have to agree to those procedures anyways. And you're not bogging down the charter with that.
And just so other people know, the financial management policies, that is a document, that's not just something new, that's there now, and it's got a lot in it, so this is a real thing, so, just so people know that.
And we already had a calendar in there.
Right.
And, that I do some things together in the financial management policy. I've run it past Karen and Fred, and Karen made some comments on it, and Mark Brombacher has seen it too. So I think you have the doc, I sent it to
Yep.
you, Betty, and I know Karen sent her letters
Yep.
also. I think it should be like this, without the, you know, finance committee's gonna do blah, 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 and the select board's gonna do blah, blah, blah. You're gonna have the responsibilities in here, and especially the important thing is the policy, you know, is, because that's a fear that I have, is future boards that just let that policy go to waste. So if it's in the charter, it says we need to have this, and we need to maintain it. And there's already protections in there for the two boards to agree on things. So, and in the future, if the two boards want to change it, if you know, one board feels like, you know, we've had select boards that have just thrown up their hands and say, we want nothing to do with this, then they change the policy to do that. But until it's changed, the way it's running now would be.
So, I mean, I
The
like
way
that
it
concept,
works.
obviously, you don't have the details in the charter, because, I
Right.
mean, change, it doesn't even just require going to town meeting, it's town meeting, the state legislature, and a ballot, so, I mean, that's really just not a doable option to have those kind of details in there, I agree with that. And the fact that you already have the financial policies, and that it requires changes to the financial policies, requires FinCom and Select Board, and the town finance team, basically. That puts a lot of things in place to make sure people are working together and coming up, but the charter is saying you have to do this.
Right.
I mean, I
And
like
the
it.
capital planning thing.
The capital planning, you've
put it
added
into
that in
the-
there too,
the
so-
financial
which was not
policy
spelled out
things.
before, but you've added that in your draft
There's
now.
a couple of things about, you know, the treasurer getting receipts and something else. So lapse of appropriations and things like that, that's all handled in separate policies, excuse me. The treasurer already has, excuse me. The treasurer already has a policy about collecting receipts. And the appropriations lapsing is already handled in the financial management policy, so those things don't need to be in the charter. I don't think that is. Do you
Hang on, just,
agree with the concept, you know?
What he said.
Yeah. What you can make out of it.
no? Okay, Brad?
So we got this 70 minutes.
Okay, that's all understood,
Okay, I'd like to speak.
okay?
We got 70 minutes before the meeting began.
Yep,
My first question is, this policy does not exist as bylaw, correct?
What policy?
This
Financial
financial
management
management
policy?
policy. Correct. It's not a bylaw, so
No.
we're not bound by it. The town is not bound by it currently. And yet with 70 minutes' notice, we're bringing this forward. Has everybody in this group even read it?
we're just having a
That
discussion,
policy has
starting the
nothing to do
discussion,
Except
Rob.
charter.
Has nothing to do with the
That
charter.
has nothing to do with the charter, Rob. That's
You're
not-
embedded, when you're embedding.
The
it-
charter is saying that we will maintain a policy. You shouldn't be concerned with what's sitting in the policy. All you need to be considering is that we have one. That's it.
This is loaded with a lot of language.
Absolutely.
And that's what we.
And it's been like that for 20 years.
And it was supposed to be updated with frequency, and it had not been updated until.
It's updated every year.
I
Every
guess,
year.
I guess I'll go back, and my recollection from attending those working group sessions was identified that it had not been updated for several years. I may be incorrect because I've only had 70 minutes to
And that was
consider.
3 years ago, Rob.
Okay, well,
And it's been
every year
updated
versus
since
3?
then.
Okay. What I'm trying to do is establish that there's an awful lot. I attended your working sessions. I was the only person of the public to attend those working sessions. And so I questioned if other members in the group here haven't received time to even read this thing yet. Because I think it's got an awful lot, as you're stating, it's just, I guess your point is, which I'll admit, I'm not able to reconcile this that came 70 minutes and this that apparently came with it before this meeting.
That policy is not a concern of your committee. That policy is a concern of the select board and finance committee. What we're asking is that your board say, yes, the town needs to have a policy. That's all. That's all we're asking. I'm not asking you to opine on anything that's in that policy. It's not your board's concern.
Okay.
From a process, aside from those details, the concept that the charter would say you have to have a policy, and, I mean, it goes, the way some of this is worded, I mean, I just liked it, the responsible, it has to include these things. I know nobody had time to read anything in detail, but conceptually, because yes, last time we were just churning, and this, to me, it makes sense anyway. Unless there's another option, I mean, you have something else you're proposing, and instead of doing that, I think we should do, I know you've been, should be, instead.
It's difficult to respond. I think Mel stated at the last meeting, what Littleton has working is quite unusual. With our peer communities, there's only 1 out of the 10 that handles finance committee the way that Littleton does.
Meaning what? In what aspect?
With regard to the finance committee presenting to the town meeting, 9 of the other 10 do not do it that way. I question whether other members of this group are really aware of that. But I'm okay, if I'm too much in the details, so be it. But I'm just saying that we heard extensively and we had a lot of discussion at the last meeting, and we pretty much seemed to move, after about 1 hour and 40 minutes, we seemed to move with regard to something that Mel stated he hadn't even seen yet in terms of Article 8 proposed, and all of a sudden we just blitzed right through it 20 minutes last time, and we're gonna revisit it, I guess, tonight. But instead of revisiting it tonight, now we've got a new concept, which open to new concepts. Just wish there was time in order to consider them and read them and contemplate with regard to what the implications of them are. Not to opine on the details of it, which I could, but not to do that. I'm just saying, there's incoming stuff that we're seemingly not absorbing or having time to absorb with regard to, instead of that, consider this instead.
Last time, I didn't think we really had any content. There was something there, but it was considered that it really wasn't, that's not what we wanted to go for. It was just something to put, it as a placeholder. So now we have something.
So you just add, well, we have this now.
Yeah?
Okay. So prior to that, or I called you, I said, I considered what I saw as Article 8 as not being responsive to what I saw in many other charters. I stopped after I heard that there was gonna be something that came forward 70 minutes before the meeting. I stopped several days ago even contemplating that. But that is to say that there are many.
We had that conversation a week ago, though. You could have written, you've been talking to me, you could have written something up, because I said, just put it together and share it with everybody. We never got anything. Okay? I mean, I'm sorry, but this is kind of.
Fine.
I was here when the town manager from Groton was here.
Mhm.
The process he explained was exactly what we do.
He's the 1 out of the 10 peer communities. Groton is the 1 out of the 10. All other 9 do not do it that way. Do not do it as we're contemplating of putting in our charter, which is fine if that's what we choose to do. I'm just trying to point out, and I think this is the first time that I've said this, because I was pretty much blown away by how we were just going direct from your guys' input to then saying something that we hadn't considered, and Mel was saying he hadn't even seen, and we were just, and here we are, now in the second meeting of the same thing. That is just a very fast, on one thing that I did share with you, I think this is one of the biggest decisions we've got as a charter with regard to contemplate and determine what we're proposing.
What would not be in the charter if we referred to the policy?
There's,
What would be
there's
missing?
often extensive, here's an example. Most of the other charters have specifically written in the charters that there will be a required meeting for public input with regard to the annual budget process. Okay, you can smile, but I mean, that's something that has not taken place here in Littleton for several years. Yes, it's now proposed to be an input session on the 14th, and I view that language as very unique in that it's identified as an input session, whereas in the other charters, it's identified as a public hearing. And it is one or more public hearings, and it's on the finance committees that we're currently, abiding by and praising, that they will hold one or more public meetings every year with regard to the annual budget, and yet we haven't had them. In fact, I went back and looked since the last meeting, we've not even had a separate finance committee meeting, separate from joint meetings with the select board. So I'm very appreciative. I know it's not sounding this way. I'm very appreciative with regard to what we have in finance committee. I think we're very blessed in Littleton. But having said that, our responsibility is to look forward-looking and not identify what we currently have. And I am very much concerned with regard to, we've had 2 years recently where appointments to the finance committee are recognized as being difficult to get people to participate. And I'm identifying also, in response to your question, Karen, there's something that would be very, very specifically identified that most charters have, which is public input with regard to town meeting and the annual budget, and that has not taken place here. So that's just one. I could go on. I was working extensively with regard to incorporating different parts. I'll be happy to write something up, but what I write, I don't know is worthy of your guys' time. I was looking for something to have substance and not to have something that I saw which didn't even have any attempts with regard to modeling what we do. I mean, there's aspects with regard to, does the select board provide for input with regard to the town manager in terms of that budget process, in terms of that annual important direction? Is there a finance committee role with regard to that? There's different aspects with regard to who has input with regard to that budget message that goes out and proceeds from there. And I could go on.
Again,
I don't wanna go on. It's
That's
not worth your
detail
time.
outside the
Yeah, it's not.
four corners of this charter.
Often the charters have what I'm describing. They often have that. I can.
I see them, Some
Okay.
they do, some don't.
Okay.
And not nearly as extensive as that.
So I like the idea of incorporating. the
But I just
policy.
worry that we just get too, I'm sorry.
Nope, finish, I'm sorry.
Stepped right on your lines.
I was gonna say, I like the idea of incorporating it by reference, because it takes a lot out and it simplifies it and it keeps it in one document. I do agree that if there should be public input sessions, that should be somewhere. And I'd also like to see the policy on the website, which I don't currently see, but that's an implementation piece, that people can do that.
Is that under the FinCom? The financial
Not
policy?
that-
Not that I can see when I
Where is it?
scan
Town
it.
treasurer.
Town treasurer.
Oh, it's under the treasurer, okay, I was looking at the
I knew it was on there
finance committee.
someplace, yeah.
Yeah, so as long as people have
Mhm.
visibility to it
Mhm.
and can
Oh,
see
yeah.
it, but, back to the whole civic engagement and public input thing, issue that keeps bubbling up in different capacities. Maybe that is part of the charter, as an open town committee, we require, or an open town meeting setup, one of the recommendations that we have is that all the meetings have an opportunity for public input, and just build that in as a broad statement, and then every committee has the responsibility to make that happen.
Yeah?
Again, I don't want to speak for Karen.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we have that I've heard being said. Yes, our meetings the past couple of years have been joint meetings with the select board. Again, it's because these two boards, number one, work well, and number two, we have decided that it's better for both boards to hear the same thing instead, the way we used to do it is FinCom met on Tuesdays, select board met the following Mondays. We would hear something, then the select board would have to hear it, then we'd have to come back the following week, what does the select board say? and then they'd have to do the same thing. So decisions were being made for a month. Sometimes some town managers, some town administrators that we have weren't willing to give the finance committee information first, so we start that process a week after it would've, because they wanted to go to the select board. We think we've solved it. I hope you feel the same way. By meeting joint, we hear the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Every year we have working sessions, and this is what Rob is referring to. We have working sessions where the department heads come in and talk about their budgets. Those days are long enough, number one, especially the Super Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We were there last year from 9 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, and it was a chore just keeping everybody's attention span on the two boards. So, yes, we don't take public comment in the working sessions. The other sessions on the Wednesday nights with the department heads here is, we don't want to keep the department heads after work longer than they need to be, so we don't take the working sessions. There are plenty of sessions after those discussions have had, that we have joint meetings to finalize things. In every one of those meetings, the select board meetings, they always have public comment. We have never said no at a public meeting that we're not gonna take comments, except for those working sessions. So, if you wanna write something in that there's gonna be a public hearing for the budget, go right ahead. But I'm telling you that we don't say, no, we don't want any input from the public. I mean, how many times have we had meetings? We used to have, my first go-around in FinCom, when there was a lot more public input here. We had, I don't know how many sessions at the high school, in the Kiva room, where it was packed. I mean, you remember them. We've had meetings, many meetings, before we started meeting jointly with the select board. Nobody's here.
Not even Rod.
I know, this is before Rob's days, of course. So, I just want to put it out there that we are not saying we don't want public comment. We always have public comment, just in those working sessions,
Yeah.
that's all.
I think we've heard that multiple times at this point. Thank you.
I just offered up this language
Yep.
as an alternative. Do what you want with it, that's all. I'm just.
Do you
I
wanna
didn't
go through it in
feel like
detail?
the
I mean, do you
town
wanna go
charter
through and
was a
read it?
place to put
Mhm.
procedures in,
Right,
that's all.
right. Do you wanna go through it and look at it in the meet now, or do you wanna wait till next time? Are people, if we leave, are people gonna spend time looking at it and then come back next time and talk about it? Or would you like to go through the wording now and see what it says and get a feel for it? Or would you rather not do it that way?
Out of glee right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to do, it's not something we're going to incorporate in the charter, so.
Well, not, we're not about the
The
financial
policy.
policy. No, I'm talking about what's in here, the draft that's in here that refers to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is the charter. This would be the charter. But this is not the details of the policy, the financial policy. It's just saying, like, the budget process will be performed and outlined within I can't see what's marked out. Will be performed consistent with the financial management policy described in section 7.3 below, right? And again, annually, prior to the first day of November, the town manager will establish and issue a budget schedule, which will set forth you want me to read? I don't know, this is just,
No, I think Steve referred that the calendar's already established in the policy somehow. I mean, will the town manager be
This is-
charged with setting the calendar
So
year?
the way, again, this hasn't been vetted through the two boards.
Yeah.
In the financial policy, but the way, the little notes that I put in there was the town manager is responsible to put a calendar, 'cause the calendar that's in the policy right now just says, in November, we're gonna do this, in,
Okay.
December, we're gonna do this. He's assigned to put
He puts
exact
dates
dates
to
to
it.
those things.
Okay,
And
Okay.
they'll run that past FinCom and Select Board.
make sure it
This
works.
calendar, okay, does this work?
Yeah, okay. Makes
But
sense.
that would be his responsibility.
Okay.
So can I reset the question here? Steve, you're proposing, where did this, all this struck out language come from? Our friends at Collins Center? So, you looked at, what's that?
The purple
The
is
the
Steve.
stuff that's struck, yes.
Yeah, the stuff
first
that struck out,
document that-
so I'm going somewhere with this.
Yes.
And it's back to asking Collins Center if they've had a chance to look at this, and if they have any sense about it. So you're proposing to take out some of the how out of the charter and move that, it already exists in some form today.
We'll expand upon it, yes.
Yep, change it up as necessary, given the new construct and stuff like that, but the gory details will reside down in a document that will be, what did you, by reference? Included by reference. And we will not get, that's the central premise that you're offering, and you've thrown some language down here, and you've proposed what you could strike out, and what you would put in lieu of those gory details.
Yes.
Great. That sounds reasonable to me. Because I'm a proponent of keeping the charter at the highest level while providing the necessary direction below it. So, I was inclined in the direction, I've not looked at these words and what's been struck and what's been added, but I'm in favor of what you're proposing. And I wonder if the Collins Center has any concerns, have we struck anything out that we shouldn't have struck out? Or that we should make sure is someplace else, or stuff like that?
Yeah, that's what I was asking, what would be missing if we did that?
So we haven't had a chance to go through it, sort of in detail, like we received at the same time as the committee. So we can come back and with some thoughts. So that's what I would have to say sort of now. I would say that, we did send you, different communities have different charters. Some have a lot of detail in about the financial procedures. Some have very little to none. What we put in there was sort of just the what we generally see. But it's up to this committee to decide how much it wants to or not put into this section, or have it at all if it wants. What we do find is that communities often, a lot of communities do want to have sort of some locked in sort of structure that can't be changed too easily, because there can be some friction between who does what around the budget. And that's one of sort of the biggest activities, particularly of your town manager, your select board. But that doesn't mean that that's how you have to do it here.
That was kind of what was going to be my question. If we don't put into the charter the things that we believe absolutely must be there from any perspective, but we'll talk about finance for this, and we just reference a policy, and that policy can be changed with much less work than you would have to do to change a charter. That would be my only concern from just saying, just go look at the policy. I think we should pick out the things that we say absolutely must have to happen with the finance committee and put it in the charter. And then everything else we can reference the policy. So that would be my only comment on this.
And I think if you go, and I agree with that, if you go to 7.3, it specifically says the policy will, and this is where we could go in and put in more if we needed to. But this is saying some of the things that, on a general, not the hows, not the what, but the what will be in there. The policy will contain an outline of the full budget process, right? Establish the financial goals of the town and guidelines to achieve those goals. Provide a comprehensive outline of various financial decision-making facing the town, each budget, and so on. Anyway, you can see there are some things there. So, because I think, I agree with you. It can't just say, oh, it's in the document. Well, here you're gonna say, and the document will include boom, boom, boom. And not in the specifics of what it is, but the concept of what it is. And it just seems to me it's a
And
A logical
I agree
approach.
100% with you,
Yeah.
Bob. If there are things that you feel in the process that should be spelled out, then by all means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't as an
I
agreement
think
or
that-
disagreement, it was just an observation.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, I
think
agree with you
the things that are
100%.
important, and again, this is me and not everybody else here, is the responsibilities. And I put the responsibilities in here and the duties. Section 7.5, the powers and duties of the finance committee. And then it's also the C on 7.2, is the responsibility. The finance committee is responsible to do X.
Can you clarify which documents you're referring to?
Charter.
In the charter, 7.2.
Is this the December 5th version?
No.
Draft?
Oh, no, we just got it.
No, this is the one that, with the steep proposal on it.
Whichever one you received.
The latest one.
Karen's.
Okay.
Couldn't think you
Is
have.
that not the December 5th draft, or is that this that has all of
It
this?
was, it was a
language?
short one I gave you that was, it was a PDF,
So
so it
it's
was
this
just
one?
this stuff. Yeah,
And you're referencing 7.5?
7.3, I think.
7.3 is struck out and says will be detailed in the financial
Well,
management
If
policy.
you go further up,
The new.
go back a
That's
page.
different finance, okay, yep, back a page, you're saying that, okay, that's why I was asking. to be accurate.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, sort of one thing, sort of is looking at this now, at 7.3, where it says the town will create the financial policy, rather than using the town, it probably would make a sense, it would make sense to assign that duty to a specific entity, whether it's the town manager, the select board, or the finance committee, or some combination thereof, to clarify who's responsible for engaging that action.
Does finance committee and select board?
Yeah,
No, I'm sorry.
no, and
It's the financial policy group?
Yeah.
How would you put it?
Yeah, it's the financial policy group.
Financial policy
Well,
committee.
if I could, continuing on with 7.3, is the language that is identified as creating a financial policies committee, is that what you're proposing?
That's in existence right now.
Is that what's
Yes.
proposed?
Yes, that's what he's
We're
proposing.
proposing to put that into the charter.
Sure. It's just codifying what we're doing now.
So,
No, I would argue it's not. It'd be changing, because now all of a sudden, we've got 2 members of finance committee, 2 members of select board, 1 member of school committee, and then the town director, the treasurer. So that's a brand-new set of elements as to who's gonna have a significant shaping.
That's the existing committee that has to change
It's been
the
several
financial
years
policy.
to change.
It's been in existence for,
That's pertaining to the
20 years.
financial management policy. So
Policy.
getting back, whether it's to Anthony's questions or to Kyle's comment, what is proposed with regard to who's going to shape this financial management policy? Is it the working group that's identified here?
they recommend changes to the 2 boards, which is ratified by the school committee. So however you wanna word it, it has to be approved by the 2 boards separately, and it has to be ratified by the school committee.
And this
That
because
is
it's
to
in
make
our,
changes to the financial management policy.
and this because it's in our charter, would seemingly give that newly assembled group that up till now has just proposed a policy, it would now be embedded in our charter that they are the authoritative group with regard to continuing on an ongoing basis the development of this policy.
They will review and recommend changes annually for presentation to
That's a group
the
with
finance
having,
committee. All they're doing is reviewing and recommending changes. So if you wanna put what Anthony said on that first line, the town will prepare, the select board and finance committee will prepare upon the recommendations of a financial policy working group, however you wanna word it.
And that's just codifying what we're doing now.
I mean, those are the people who would
It's
do it. I
codified
don't
right
know
now
why I don't know if that's.
in the policy itself. The very last section says exactly that thing, that this working group, this policy group gets together, recommends changes to be reviewed by the select board and finance committee. So we're just putting it there also.
Those are the players.
Again, I'm just offering this
No,
as
I know, I
alternative
understand.
language.
Right.
Cross it out, do whatever your committee feels like doing.
So I think maybe we could call out that committee, I'm on the treasurer's site now, and I see the policies. So we call out that policy planning committee, just
Mhm.
name the titles for clarity, so people don't have to hunt for it.
Policy Planning Committee. All right, well, I guess what we need to do is get, well,
Maybe, Madam Chair, what you should do, review it, make the comments, maybe send it back to Karen and I, and we can come back at some other time. Is that okay with you?
I'd love to come back.
no place you'd rather be. Well, I think clearly we need time to digest it and so on. And so Mel and Anthony, you guys will have time to look at it too then and give your comments?
Yes.
Okay. I think we've probably gone as far as we're gonna go with that tonight. People agree with that? Okay. If you have some specific suggestions that you want, look at it and make them,
One
please.
thing I'll throw out right now, can we establish a timeline with regard to anything that we're considering in this meeting? What's the appropriate time to distribute it prior to the meeting?
Rob, they've got a lot of volunteers. Things get done when they get done. Would you rather have me not send it before the meeting?
I would argue that an hour and 10 minutes before the meeting, as evidenced by the fact that we now discussed it, but just discussed upon it, move it forward, isn't a productive use of time.
But if
So
we didn't-
yes, I guess I would prefer, if it's not like the select board. Select board, when do you get the packet? I'm just asking for what is the protocol? Because
There
we've
is
been-
no protocol. I wish there were. I wish a lot of things were different, Rob. They're not. I'm dealing with the best that I have right now.
I'm not.
Okay? I'm sorry. I wish we were better too. It's volunteers. We're doing the
So-
best we can. So we got the information.
So-
The idea was to have Steve come in, talk about the concept. Does this make sense? Do we kind of agree? Do we like this or not? Are there other suggestions? It wasn't that this is done. It's just, why not have the conversation?
I'm just saying, going forward.
Yeah?
Can we establish that,
I don't think we can. I wish we could.
okay?
I mean, I wish we could, but I'm not gonna commit to that.
Okay, good. We'll just wait for the next, this is 2 meetings in a row.
I know.
That we've had things sent less than 2 hours before.
I know.
That are 10 pages or
I know.
more.
Would you like to sit here? I would love to have you sit here and I'll sit someplace else.
It's not what I'm suggesting. I'm trying to be courteous
Okay.
and to try to establish some sense of, if somebody can't get it to us before the end of Friday,
Yeah?
before the next or 2 days
Okay.
before the next meeting, that it's appropriate to say, I'm sorry, but people on this group have lives. We
Okay.
can't possibly attempt right now. I don't see how this is productive use of our time, and rather than it being changed, which I'm proposing, set it back and force the change. And either we abide by that change, or we say, no, it's just not reasonable to have 10 to 20 pages worth of documents sent less than 2 hours before a meeting.
Rob, I agree wholeheartedly with the idea of getting things right before a meeting, because I was sitting at my computer trying to type things out, but the one thing it allows us now to go back and review. If this wasn't sent out right now, we'd be in January getting it for the first time. At least now, we've had some kind of debate on it, we can go back and take a look at it. So in a way, I don't want to get at the last minute either, but at least tonight, it gave us a chance to talk about it, and we can come back in January, as opposed to getting it and starting all over again.
If we had gotten it tonight, I would have just canceled the meeting tonight. Would that have been better? Then we wouldn't have had this conversation now. I mean, that's kind of where we are.
Another part of the meeting that you got is, I think, a December 5th draft that we haven't touched on yet, that does have, yet again, changes that need to be made to it to incorporate changes that I thought we previously agreed to. But we haven't addressed those yet, and we're 25 minutes away from
No, we're not
the
gonna do it
regular,
tonight.
time that we should be
Tonight.
suspending.
Yeah.
Again, and if I'm not being reasonable, then I'm not being
No,
reasonable.
you're probably being reasonable. Some of it is, this is where we are, Everybody's doing the best they can. That's all I can say. Try to do better. All right. Want to do minutes? Public input? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So you have the
Thanks, Karen.
same massive public that we
Yes,
usually do.
exactly.
Yeah, so, to my earlier point, figure out how to get them out.
Thank you.
All right, somebody want to make a motion on the minutes? I know Rob had a change. Charlotte said she would incorporate that.
Is everybody aware of that? I'm not, I sent it to Charlotte and you and.
Oh, I need to send to everybody?
I did not send it to
Okay, well
everybody.
then why don't you explain to everybody then?
I don't even remember right now what the, I knew it was a point that I felt like it had to, it was missing. See if I can find it. Yeah, I think the point, and I, so the point I believe was that on the second page of her proposed drafted minutes under charter document review and updates, the missing bullet was the fact that town meeting had changed and approved from the 8 notification places to 3.
Right.
This is the third time we've discussed
Yes,
that.
I know, believe
And
me.
it was agreed to, and it wasn't listed there, and if we're going to have these minutes to be a.
Yeah, we all agree, it should be there, yep, sorry. Okay,
So
Um,
approve the minutes with the
with
addition of
the
the.
addition, yep.
Of December 1st. Motion to approve? With that edit?
Second, all right. Any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's passed. Okay, I think we're done early tonight. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Are we
Oh, I
taking-
need a motion, sorry, let's do it officially, sorry.
Oh, wait,
Oh, not yet?
there was one document that was sent, the memo about appointments? Is there anything there that we need to?
I was gonna say that I wasn't gonna do it
Oh,
tonight.
got it, okay.
That was for,
Can we go through this December 5th draft? This is another document that was sent out, and I don't think it's accurate.
I know that the third of the 3 to 8 has already been brought up to them, that should have been changed.
Okay, if I can separately identify that I think the whole deputy moderator, all of a sudden it's missing.
Where would that be?
Well, it was in the 12.1 version, it was right before section 2.3, it may have been part of section 2.2. So, I'll just throw that out, that
Okay, what else you got? Are there other things?
it's the version.
Madam
that-
Chair, just
Yep.
as we go through them, so, and, you know, we'll talk about this when we have our meeting on Monday, but on the version I'm looking at that I thought was what got sent out today, the deputy moderator is in 5-2C, because I believe the committee said that they wanted the town moderator to have the ability to appoint the deputy town moderator.
Let's see. Well, it says December 5th, and I don't have it.
I got December 5th printed out today, got emailed today. It's got page numbers on it. I'm on page 10, 5.2C, Town Moderator, and the last sentence in that section, 5.2, says the powers and duties of the town moderator shall include appointment of deputy town moderator to assist the town moderator during town meeting.
You're correct, it's there. And that's what I, previously, it was in an earlier section, it's now not there, because it's where you just identified. So
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there something else, Rob, that you want specifically to address?
There are, so previously, we've had this language with regard to who's electing people by the voters and, you know, all kinds of language. It seems like the language that's now being attempted to be consistently done is a phrase by and from the voters. And yet it's inconsistently used in the document. So if you want to just, so that's my statement.
No, well, those things are supposed to be consistent. We brought it up multiple times. Things need to be consistent throughout here.
So I just throw out that where I don't see it used is within that other elected. And again, much like Kevin did, things could be moving on me and I may
No,
not
I
be, you know,
understand. That's
seeing
okay.
it. And so it should be, unless it's otherwise earlier on in the phrasing, you know, representing that is there for all the other elected boards, that it seems like we need that buy-in from the voters. If that's how the select board's gonna be referenced, then it should be at the school committee, at the light commissioners, at the water commissioners, and each repetitive. Or I'm open to having it placed somewhere else to generally apply, but I don't see it consistently there.
Okay. If
Then-
you have the notes, I would love, I mean, I love the fact that you go through the detail and you find, I really do. I just wish you would just document it and send it in, rather than, because here, it's hard for us to absorb it, and it's hard for sometimes to keep.
I didn't get this until less than 2 hours before.
Okay, I thought this was stuff you had before. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I apologize then.
And the other part that I think I don't see, but again, I may be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
is I thought we've consistently said, and there's been agreement that the sewer component should be specifically referenced with regard to within the water commissioners. I don't see it. Maybe it's there somewhere.
Okay. Again, I would love it if you go through the document and document these things and send it to everybody, and we'll make sure that Collins gets it, and we'll have it.
Okay, so.
Yep.
to
I
be res-
understand you couldn't do it just now. I'm just saying.
But that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Okay.
In order to be responsive to
Yeah.
what you're saying, I'm anticipating that as we left the previous meetings, that these changes that we've previously
Yeah.
discussed and agreed
Yeah.
upon will be in the next iteration of the
agree.
draft.
I agree.
Okay, so the only recourse that I think I have is to now identify during the time of this group to state that the latest iteration that did come out today lacks them.
And it's easier if it,
So you're saying I should not do that, and yet I should just document, I'm just trying to understand what you want done.
I just think in terms of getting it fixed, it's easier if it's documented. And then we can still talk about it at the meeting once we have it. But,
But do you have
Go ahead.
more?
you have specific other ones you want to talk about? We've done this.
No, I'm really not interested in talking about it anymore.
It's just, we're going through words, this is wrong, this need to be fixed. We said this before, okay? But now we've got 9 people sitting here listening. Okay, he's mad at me. I don't know what to do about it. We're just on different wavelengths tonight. So let's adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.